Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabel, and the month of September was a tough one for me. I don't often stumble upon a reading slump, but it happens. It happened to me, and I'm sure it would happen or has happened to you. I started the month with lessons in chemistry. And as you can tell from my previous video, I really enjoy that novel. And maybe it was the fact that it was such a complete round read that it gave us funny, it gave us emotional, it gave us interesting, that it was a tough act to follow. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis follows the life of Elizabeth Sott, a brilliant chemist whose intellect irritates and challenges her colleagues in the early 60s. I gave it 4.5 stars. I love the focalization through the dog, the female bonds, the found family, the feminism in it, the pace, the writing style. And with that being said, I want to restate, as I said in my previous video, that I have nothing against Brie Larson as an actress or as a person. I've liked her in every film that I've seen her, and I know that she's brilliant. In the previous video, when I talk about her being the protagonist of the adaptation of this novel, I only meant to say that she wasn't the type of actress that immediately popped into my mind while I was reading this novel. Keep in mind that I already knew that this was going to get an adaptation, or I don't know, I found out pretty early on, so I was already picturing someone in my head. And that is what we do when we read. That is my right, that is your right. We still don't have any power to decide who actually gets to portray these characters, and I'm sure she's going to do an amazing job. I didn't want to spread any hate, and I don't think I did. And I just want to restate that again. But thank you for your comments and for the information that you gave me. But just remember, this is not a hate channel, and I only spread cancel culture toward my personal enemies. Moving on, after lessons in chemistry, I was like, what do I read now? And the answer came in the form of my college syllabus. I got to read GaudyNight by Dorothy L. Sayers for my class. So, this is your classic detective campus novel, and it's from 1935. It is part of a series called the Lord Peter Wimsey series that is also different detective novels with Lord Peter as the main detective. However, there is this like subcategory with Harriet Vane as the protagonist. Harriet Vane is the romantic interest of Lord Peter, but she is also a detective mystery novelist. So you can read GaudyNight on its own without having to read anything else before. You just have to fill in the blanks on your own. The mystery starts when Harriet goes back to her alma mater, Oxford University, for an alumni reunion. I personally would never go to an alumni reunion to some of the institutions I've been to. I mean, I will go back to Berkeley probably. Well, who knows? Well, whatever. There in the alumni reunion, also called the Gaudy Night, the mystery begins. As a child, I grew up on detective novels. Sherlock Holmes raised me. Nancy Drew, whatever you want to say, I read it. I love detective novels. I love a good mystery, and I love them because they're fast-paced. You get the facts. You can there's a formula to them. Pretty much like the thriller that comes as a subgenre of the detective novel, I guess. The detective novel is always there. It always gives you what you're looking for, and it's a fast-paced read. However, GaudyNight is not a fast-paced read. As you can see, it's kind of thick. She's a thicky one. And it's wordy, and it's from 1935, so people used to speak differently. And also, all of our characters are academics. So it gives you nice references over there, but if you're looking for a fast-paced detective read, this is not it. I just thought I would mention it. Going back to the mystery. The mystery starts from small to big with little menacing notes in the pockets, but it escalates pretty quickly and it becomes kind of violent. You could divide the book into halves, and the first one is incredibly slow and the second one is pretty fast. So if you can make it through the first part, then you can get to the action. With that being said, and not as an expert from an academic point of view, but as a reader, I feel like Dorothy L. Sayers kind of changes what we think about the campus novel and the detective novel before the 1930s. And if you come with our contemporary view of it, you're going to be like, there's nothing new here. But if you go chronologically, especially the focus on the women and the motivations behind the mystery and the actions, they're very interesting. And I feel like if I had to do a recount of Lessons in Chemistry and GaudyNight, is that they both depict women in academic spaces, or that who dare to go into higher education, and the result, the rejection, the irritation that people surrounding them get. Which, again, Lessons in Chemistry, contemporary novel, but set in the 1960s, GaudyNight from 1930s, and they both expose the reality of women in STEM and women in academia, and how we're not that very far away from those sentiments and from that experience. As a woman in academic path myself, and as a person of color, I can tell you that those same struggles have not been resolved, and we still have to deal with them. Another interesting part is that if you're an unmarried woman who dedicates her life to academia, you only have to do that. That you have to be virtuous and graceful and asexual, as if you're like a nun to the convent, because you're dedicating your life to letters. So if you want a romantic partner, if you have sexual impulses, those are condemning you because you are not following what it is expected of you as an academic. And even if you do that, if you become this virtuous nun that dedicates her life to academia, you're still, in some views, taking this opportunity, this position as a scholar from an honest man who is supposed to develop in this setting, the rightful setting, and you're coming in all selfishly taking this opportunity from him. And I know that it sounds crazy, but it was a valid point for a lot of people to point out, because if you have this status quo and this division of labor and this cultural values, and then everything starts changing, you wonder, well, if all of these new people, these others, are coming in to take our jobs, then what are we gonna do? Does it sound familiar? Because it repeats itself over and over again, just changing the other for a different minority or a different type of group. And there you have it. They're stealing your jobs. Something else that I thought it was quite interesting as an academic is that it poses, is academia worthy? What did they do? Is it important? Do they save life? Do they ruin life? Do they change anything? Closed reading, is it important? History, is it important? Literature, is it important? It's seen selfish, and it kind of exposes how academia is elitist, it's classist, it's racist, and it's sexist. But we're so inclined for it. We fight for it. We fight for our right to be in it. And at least that rings true to me in my experience. But it makes you wonder, especially because we as readers now label them as dark academia. This is a dark academia novel. The Secret History is a dark academia novel. If We Were Villains is a dark academia novel. And they all point at the same issues. So it should be in our interest to wonder about them and at least inquire, what are they trying to say? I gave 3 out of 5 to this novel. I know I've been saying awesome things about it. It's slow. The beginning is very slow, and I know that if I didn't have to read this for class, I would have put it down, because the first half is pretty slow. It's wordy, and it's difficult to connect with it in a way that wants you to pick it up. Like, you read the first part, and yeah, there's a mystery, but I wasn't into it until like chapter 10. And that is the truth. And if you do want to read it, because I feel like this could fit in a list of long novels, detective novels, moody novels, dark academia novels, if you might say, for October, November, December, when the weather is cold and wet and you just want to be home, curled like with a blanket with a good book, this could be it. I still give it 3 out of 5 just because. And I'm not gonna change my rating. I still like it. I'm gonna present about it actually, but that's it. And what else? I pick other books here and there throughout the month. Yeah, but nothing really catch my attention. I don't want to say they all fail my test because maybe I wasn't in the headspace for it, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes when you have really good novels, very complete, they're a tough act to follow, and sometimes you just need to sit with them and do other things. I was listening to a lot of podcasts this month. I got sick, I finished my translation, I started school, so a lot of things were going on, and I read a ton for school, but because they're like poems or articles or essays or I don't know, incomplete stuff that is not an actual book, I don't include them here because they're also kind of specialized. So it's not like, oh, I recommend it or not. It's kind of like, oh, this information is useful, or if you're interested in this topic, yeah, of course I recommend it, but you know, that's not really what we talk about here. So yes, I read 2 books in the month of September. So we have said this before, it's not about the quantity but the quality, and the quality was there. So I'll just move on. October seems promising. That's all from me. Thanks for watching. I am Isabel. Keep reading, and when you're not, follow me on all my social media, link down below as usual. And I don't know, catch up with the videos. Bye!